Welcome back to another Flash video tutorial. In our previous videos, we went over frames, animations, and movie clips, and now we're going to kind of combine them all together to form one great, amazing feature called a button that you can click. Super exciting. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new ActionScript 3.0 document and click OK. And I'm going to start off with my rectangle tool, get some blue fill, make sure the corners are all rounded. And I'm going to click and drag, and bam, we got some magic rectangle rounded corner thing going on here. I'm going to select it all, tap F8 to convert to a symbol. And previously we had been using type movie clip. Well, this is different. Times are changing, the seas are shifting, and earthquakes, and everything's going to happen. So I'm changing to a button now instead of a movie clip, and I'm going to name this the button. Click OK. So now we have a button as indicated in the top right, and from what you can tell, pretty much looks exactly the same as a movie clip, but it's not. It's different. So I'm going to go ahead and double click on it so that I'm inside my button, and now I have up, over, down, and hit versus the normal timeline with all my frames that you see here. So I'm going to go ahead and actually explain these. There's up, over, down, and hit. So if up is when your button is not active. So if my mouse would be over to the side, then it would be up. Over is when your mouse is over. Down is when you're clicking down on your button. And hit is the area that actually registers where you click. And I'm going to explain that by example. So I'm going to extend this all out. I'm going to create some text here, make it white, and I'll say up. Oops. And this will be over. I suck at doing that. And down. And I'll even do hit for you. Hit you're never going to see, but I'll do it anyway. Why? Because I like you. Maybe I like you. So I'm going to go ahead and turn on edit multiple frames, and I'm going to lock my bottom layer. And let me rename this text for now. I'm going to select all my text on all 4 of my frames, and I'm going to align them to the center of my button. Turn off edit multiple frames, and you can see now under up it says up, under over it says over, under down it says down, and under hit it says hit. So if I go ahead and press Control Enter to run my program, the other way of doing that is going Control Test Movie, Test, and now I have my button on the stage. So what I have now is when I don't have the mouse over, it's saying up. When I'm hovering over, it says over. When I press down, it says down. But what happened to hit? Like I said, hit is where your mouse is going to register the button. What I mean by that is, let me show you. So I'm going to enter a new keyframe, right? On layer 1, there's no hit. All I have is text. And actually, I'm going to get rid of this too. So on the hit frame, there's nothing. So if I go ahead and do this, you can see now I'm hovering over my button, but it's not saying over, it's not saying down, it's not doing any of that. So to further prove my point, I'm going to go ahead and create an oval that's black in the top right corner. And this will never show up. Whatever hit is, it's never going to show up, but it's where it's going to consider your button is located. So I have up over here, I'm hovering over, and notice how my black circle is in here. But if I hover over my black circle and click, you can see that whatever's going on down here is happening only when I'm in this circle. So I'm going to go ahead, go into my library, delete my button, and we're going to create a button that actually looks nice. Why? Because we're people of quality. So I'm going to go ahead and go into my rectangle tool. I'm going to use blue to start. I have some rounded corners, and I'm going to click and drag, and now I have the beginning of my button. So I'm going to select it all, tap F8. I'm going to say my button, make sure type is button, click OK. So now I have a button. I'm going to go into my button, and layer 1 will be called base, because this will be just the base layer. This is kind of ugly right now, so I'm going to go ahead and actually put a gradient on this. So go into my colors window, linear gradient, and blue to white, not what I'm looking for. Maybe like a blue to a darker blue, or let's go lighter blue to a darker blue. Something nice and pretty. Got a nice little fade going on here. Cool. So when it's up, let's go ahead. We'll do that in a second. Okay, so when it's up, this is what it's going to look like. So I'm going to insert a keyframe under over, and I'm going to switch to my gradient transform tool so I can actually manipulate this. So when it's over, I need it to be a little brighter. So I'm going to go under my colors, change my linear gradient from, let's make this a little bit lighter. We'll make this one just a little bit lighter. So now we have up and over, and then let's go under here. I'm going to copy the up frame. Copy, paste it over here. Now under down, we need to make this one a little darker, because when it's clicked down, it'll be like pushed down. So make sure I'm over here, drag it down a bit, go over here, drag it down a bit. And now I have up, over, down. Pretty straightforward. Now all I need is my hit, so I'm going to insert a keyframe, and the area for the hit is going to be what you see here. So I can go ahead and test this by pressing Control Enter. And now I have hover over, pressing down. Cool. But I'm going to take that one step further, and I'm going to add some text. So I'm going to lock my one layer, add text. Let's make it white. And I will say up, F6, down, oops, over, F6, down. And hit, we don't need hit because it's already being covered by this base layer that I have here. So I'm going to go edit multiple frames, select them all, line them up nice and pretty. Remember now that I'm working underneath my button, not on the main stage. So actually, let me line this up. So go into up, take off my edit multiple frames. So I have up, over, down, and hit. So let's see, up, over, down, and hit. Oh, hit, you can't see. So up, over, down. So now we're starting to look like we're a little bit professional, but we can do better. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to duplicate my base layer, put it below. I'm actually going to get rid of, oops, I'm going to click, then shift, click. And I'm going to clear these keyframes so that I only have one base. And I'm actually going to call this outline. We're going to create an outline so that, well, basically, we just need more elements to our button. So I'm going to click, and now I have my base selected. It looks kind of the same. Before I get you way too confused, I'm going to change the color of my base to a solid color, and it's going to be black. So you can't see it now because it's underneath base, but I have outline. So outline is black, base is not. So I'm going to select this here, go to my Fruit Transform tool. I'm going to click on our corner. I'm going to hold down the Alt key so that it centers it. So without the Alt key, you're going to be going like this. If I hold down the Alt key, it allows me to scale or move or rotate around the center. And I'm going to get something that kind of looks like an outline. So that looks good enough for me. And that'll go throughout all of our layers. And I'm going to go ahead and lock that. So now we've got something a little nicer. We have up, over, down. And hit is our hit. But I'm still not satisfied. We can do better. So I'm going to create a new layer above base. And I'm going to name this layer Gloss. We're going to add some fancy pants stuff to our button here. So underneath Gloss, I am going to unlock this frame for a second. Or sorry, unlock this layer. I'm going to copy from my base layer, and I'm going to lock my base layer. I'm going to go into Gloss, and I'm going to click, right click, paste in place. The shortcut for that is Control-Shift-V, and it's going to paste it in place. But now it looks exactly the same as it was before, so, well, once again, you can't see anything. So I'm going to change my color, and I'm going to have it fade from white to white, which is super fancy, right? Not, can't see anything. I'm actually going to make my second white have an alpha of 0. So what this is going to do is going to give me a color that's fading from from white to transparent. So going into my gradient transform tool, I'm going to rotate this around and scale it up. And now we have a transparent gradient over the top of our base, which is already another gradient, but I'm not done yet. We can still do better. So underneath the gloss layer, under up, I'm going to go ahead and use my sub-select tool to select one of the edges. I'm going to click and drag underneath all the bottom anchor points. I'm going to press delete. So now we only have half of that. It's starting to look kind of what we want now, but we need another anchor point. I'm going to make this curved. So I'm going to go ahead and go under my pen tool. I'm going to go add anchor point. Now I'm going to add an anchor point right in the center. And if that worked correctly, oops, which I missed, so I'm going to click right in the center. Almost had it. Click, click. All right, let's zoom in. Let's zoom in. Selected, add anchor point. There we go. Now I got a point in the center. And all I'm going to do is select that point. Let me lock the text layer. I'm going to, oops, back to my gloss layer. I'm going to select the point in the center. Make sure it's only selected, so these ones on the outside should not be selected. And I'm going to tap the down key. That's kind of going a little slow. If you hold shift and tap the arrow key, you can actually move points around. So let's see what it looks like down. So I put it down, not exactly what we're going for. So I'm going to select it again. Go underneath my convert anchor point tool, drag it out, and hold shift so that it locks to a horizontal or 45 degrees. And now I have a little bit of a curved gloss. That's not looking entirely how I want it, so I'm going to go ahead and play around with this gradient and where it is. And it's looking pretty good, looking pretty good. If I wanted to, I could bring this curve up here and have it go like that, but I mean, it's just personal preference. So I'm going to stay with what I have there. And now I have a glossy button. So I have up, over, down, and hit. The way this is working, I have a keyframe on outline, so I'm using the same outline for everything. I'm using a different base for each layer, and I'm using one gloss for everything, and a different text for each layer. So if I press Control Enter to test, now I have a button that says up, over, down, up, over, down, up, over, down. Pretty straightforward. But we want to do a little bit of an animation, because normally when you press a button, something goes down, something happens, right? Cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a keyframe for my hit layer, so that way I always have the same hitbox. I don't want to do anything like that. And on my down layer, I'm also going to create a keyframe. So enter keyframe. And now you can see I can manipulate everything for just this one frame without affecting anything after it or before it. So I'm going to make sure all my layers are unlocked, and I'm going to click and drag on the down frame, and all I'm going to do is hold down shift, tap down arrow just once, tap it just once so it's nudged down a bit. And now if I go Control Enter, I have up, over. When I press down, my button actually goes down a bit. So I have up, over, down, and there we have it. We have made a glossy button. Pretty cool, right? Better than what we started with, at least.